solve large, intractable problems.
It's a new venture altogether.
Your brain is a wild horse there.
Because remember, writing is not a team sport.
You are not selling horse carriages when there are cars.
I want to be known only as the trusted advisor.
More like a tourist.
Play to Potential podcast.
I want to talk about one of the other elements you addressed in the book, Dharmasankata. You talk about that in several situations, and in a way you say that Arjuna archetype is a lot about confronting these Dharmasankatas.
That's right.
Really resolving them. One of the other professors I've studied, a gentleman called Joseph Badaracco in Harvard, talks about this concept of right versus right. He says in leadership, it's not right versus wrong. Very often you have to choose between right versus right. So, what's your approach? Again, we can have a full 2-hour conversation just on this. But as advice for leaders on resolving Dharmasankatas as they go through their journeys, what have you learned from the Mahabharata that can help leaders?
Yeah, see, one of the things that has always troubled me, like I told you, is the current discourse, or till recently. Now there's a lot of people who are talking about contextual intelligence and all that. Last 5-6 years, the idea of a leader being a powerful leader, a Bhima type leader, comes from a military understanding of leadership and all of that. And I'm sure you know this now, that most books on management have actually come out of studying war and war theory. So, words like progress, right? All the strategy, all the critical words in management are all drawn from war literature.
As an aside, my father-in-law is a retired brigadier in the Indian Army. So I've also had conversations about leadership in the army versus...
Yeah, I have questions about leadership in the army and team building in the army. We'll come back to that. Yeah. And also, I think the colonizing, last 200 years of colonization has also given a very different idea of leadership as fundamentally plunder and acquisition, right? Now, the Indian idea of leadership has always been somebody who can deal with Dharmasankata. Okay, Vikramaditya is the original model. Okay, and I'm sure all of us have read Vikramaditya and Vetala, no?
Yes.
Every story is a double-bind dilemma Dharmasankata story. And how he resolves it is what shows his wisdom. Right? To solve a Dharmasankata kind of situation requires wisdom. Right? It's not other capabilities. It also requires a deep understanding of the situation, of the various forces in the situation and how to balance them. Right? The word mandala, for example, which is the word in India that's used for any, Chola Mandalam. The word mandala means there are diverse forces that have to be brought into coherence. Now, if you've been in leadership, you know that it's always a question of, balancing priorities, right? Quality versus cost versus delivery versus, product development or whatever, right? You're always talking payoffs, right? And there was one management scientist, I forget his name, who brought in the word satisficing. It's a very interesting term, right? And that is what a Dharmasankata, you can never have an optimum solution. You can only have a satisficing solution. And if you really have been in leadership situations, you know that neither part of this dilemma is going to go away. You solve it for now, in another context, it's going to reappear in a different way. So wisdom lies in how beautifully you understand this context and how you solve it, right? In a way that it is most coherent. That is leadership, right? I have a big problem with many of the current ideas of leadership, right? Every leader knows this here, right? Long term versus short term, right? Everything you answer has this kind of, these are not binaries, right? These are two sides of a polarity, and like a magnet, they'll always be there. You try to cut it, you'll have a north and a south again, no? So that's the difference between great leaders and successful leaders who don't leave a great company behind.
And if you look at, if we persist with this, Raghu, the leaders who are good at resolving Dharmasankata versus those that struggle
Are
with
not.
it. Is there something that's common to some of these leaders who have that wisdom?
Yeah. See, there are 2-3 things that I find with leaders who are capable of looking at Dharmasankata. There are also people who understand different types of power, who are not linear, who are not one-dimensional, right? Who actually understand that different contexts require different parts, which is the 5 seats of power types. No? Very often I find that these are people whose reading is very wide. Yeah, they are phenomenally well read. So it becomes possible for them to model a situation, right? Not in the terms of the situation, but to use something else to change. And that helps to change the paradigm, right? So they actually have a kaleidoscope kind of possibility of different associations, right? Many of them have an aesthetic sensibility, right? The people who know music, or people who know art, or interested in it, right? Many of them are pattern thinkers. And that's not very common, right? They can actually think systems. They can actually think systems, not systems thinking, whatever, not a force thing. They actually see different parts of the puzzle and they can play with it.